Well, comedians are perfect to talk about using humor in change situations because we're in change situations every single week. We're in front of a different audience, different industry, different city. In fact, I've got 4 cities this week, so I'm in front of different groups. And like these are set up great. Your group has done a wonderful job setting the keynotes up so you can see me, you can hear me. And the keynotes are great. It's the comedy shows. I've been doing this 24 years now, and I've done lots of comedy shows at night for corporations and associations. And sometimes they set up the weirdest setups where I have to use humor to change the energy to get people in the mood for humor. It is crazy where they think comedy will work. And I did this comedy show for a hospital once, and they were giving out their service pins for years of service. They gave out 292 service pins. And people walked to the stage, got their pin, walked back. 292! I got on stage at midnight. I looked around, I said, you know, I think I got my 5-year pin just sitting here. And what I did in both of those situations, and my first tip, using humor to diffuse tension and change the energy, my first tip is that you got to get the big elephant out. What's going on in the room? If you sit down to a staff meeting and you just had some big change like budget cuts or layoffs or something big and you're not going to address it, guess what? Everyone is thinking about it and they're going to feel like you don't know what they're going through if you don't at least address it and move on. You may not have to talk about it at length, but at least address it and move on, and you can do that with a little bit of humor. Comedians call it addressing what people see first. As a comedian, when I get on stage, if I'm really tall or really overweight or I have a noticeable disability or I look like a famous comedian, I look like Jerry Seinfeld or something, I better say something about it right away, or people are going to spend the whole time staring at me, right? They're not going to move on. A friend of mine has muscular dystrophy. He does not have an act about muscular dystrophy. He's been on the Tonight Show 5 times. He does one joke and then moves on. Because he said otherwise people are going to spend the whole time staring at him thinking, does he know he has muscular dystrophy? Maybe I should tell him. Why is he sitting like, they won't move on. Well, the same with you guys. You got to at least address it and move on. And the fastest way comedians find the humor, the fastest way we get the big elephant out, is we put ourselves in the other person's shoes and say what their sarcastic voice is thinking. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. What are they thinking about this candle lighting ceremony? What are they thinking about 292 service pins, right? We all have a sarcastic voice in our head, don't we? Not just comedians, right? The first time you were ever disciplined by mom and dad, you had a comeback. You just didn't say it because you wanted to live, right? Well, now you get a chance to say it. Actually, kids are always kind of blurting out what the big elephant is because they don't have those filters, right? They're always kind of saying what's going on in the room. I went to dinner with my brother and his wife and their 3 boys to a Mexican restaurant, and my 12-year-old nephew, Patrick, ordered the Fiesta platter, which was the size of Mexico. Okay, it's huge, right? The check came, and I grabbed the check, and my brother's trying to get the check, and we're doing that whole check tussle thing. After a couple minutes, Patrick blurts out, "Dad, let her have it. We don't know how much this thing cost." You said what we're all thinking, right? The 12-year-old ordered the $50 platter, is going to eat 2 bites of it, right? And you can practice this now all the time. You don't have to wait for stressful change situations. Humor is like a muscle. You got to practice. You can't just decide one day you're going to be funny or you're going to use a little humor. Start practicing, start looking around. I'll show you some places to look around for it. You know, comedians, we just know where to look for it, and we've been doing it so long, we know how to do it. So start, you know, next time you're at the bank and the teller has a problem customer, go up there and have some fun with it. What do you think he or she is thinking? Maybe you start, kick it off with something fun, they won't tell you, you know, they won't screw up your transaction, right? Or you're in the elevator, have some fun there. Everyone's all quiet and staring at the wall, what the heck, you know? Or you call computer services, we get the guy in India, you know, we make fun of them, I bet they're making fun of us, right? What do you think he's thinking after 8 hours of our silly questions, right? Maybe if you started off with something funny, they won't tell you to reboot your computer, like you never thought of that. Thank you, that's my sarcastic voice, don't use yours, right? It doesn't come out well, it comes out kind of bitter and angry. I was flying across country one day from LA to Baltimore, and I'd been on the plane all day, right? I get off the plane, it's 4 o'clock, I'm hungry. I went up to one of those grab-and-go food places, and I grabbed a banana. I've been on the plane all day, all I had was a 20, but I'm thinking it's 4 o'clock, so you gotta have change, right? I handed the 20, she looks at me, she looks at the 20, and she looks back at me, and as snarly as she can be, she goes, "What do you think I'm gonna do with that?" Now my sarcastic voice had an idea. I was tired and hungry. I was angry. But I didn't say it because the banana wasn't worth it. Her name badge, I'm not making this up, her name was Joy. Now we're talking about tense, not hostile situation. People are hostile and hate you, don't use humor. Tension, you're just trying to get people to take a breath, relax, change the energy a little bit. So don't worry about it if it's not comedy club funny. You just want people to kind of take a breath, change the energy, and move forward, right? And don't do it if you're really angry about the situation, because that's not going to come out funny either, right? You're going to come out bitter and angry. When I was in Reno, Nevada, working a comedy club at a casino years ago when cell phones just came out, right? And it was 2 shows that night. The first show, halfway through, this guy answered his cell phone and then proceeded to talk over me. I know, and I started trying to joke around, and finally, man, he wouldn't stop, and he was loud, and I snapped. And I started yelling at him, get him out of the showroom, you know? And then finally I got him out of the showroom, but it was very hard to go back into being funny after I'd been so angry. So I wrapped up that show, did a second show that went well. Next day I'm walking across the casino floor, and this group is there like, hey, you're our comedian. I said, oh yeah. They said, you were really funny. I said, oh yeah, what show did you see? The guy looks at me, he goes, you know. Okay, you saw the bad one. So don't use humor if you're really angry, right? Now sometimes you can't just blurt it out. You want to kick off, you've got some big change happen, and you want to kind of break the energy, diffuse the tension, everything, change the energy, but you can't just blurt it out like my nephew Patrick did. So comedians have a couple tricks we use to get the big elephant out and change the energy. The first thing we'll do is a quick survey. How many people think blah, blah, blah? I've used the survey method a lot when something has happened on stage ahead of me and I can't just go right into my act, all right? I had to use it a couple years ago. I was doing a comedy show for a big corporation. It was right after the Super Bowl, and I guess their CEO had spent his entire Super Bowl Sunday watching the game and then making this really boring analogy between life and the Super Bowl, right? And he went out ahead of me and tried to kind of motivate everybody. You know, and he's like, well, we're on the 50-yard line and we're trying to get to the end zone. It's boring, terrible, everyone's falling asleep and looking at iPhones and stuff. So after about 5 minutes, he knew he was bombing, so he ran off and pushed me out there. I know, and I can't go right into my act, so I used the survey method. I went out and I said, hey, quick survey, how many people hope next year during the Super Bowl, Bill does like the rest of us and just drinks a beer? I had to use it at the survey method at a hospice fundraiser once. People paid a lot of money to be there, and the nun went out ahead of me and started shaking them all down for more money. She went out and she goes, you know, we are halfway through building the new wing on the hospice, and we are $5 million short. Basically, pony up, everyone, you know. Well, I'm not Catholic, but I know you cannot make fun of the nun, right? So I went out and I used the survey method. I went out and I said, you know, Sister Mary just told us we are halfway through building the new wing on the hospice and we are $5 million short. A quick survey, how many people think we should not tell that to the construction crew? Got everyone laughing, and then I could go into my act. I just addressed it. So quick survey method, great way to kind of address what's going on. People understand, okay, she gets it, she knows what we're dealing with, and then move on. Second thing comedians will do